Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your technical critic, and it has been a really bad streak for movies I've had to see. First, Godzilla just tanked because it was too boring, and now Maleficent is absolutely underwhelming. All I ask for is a little bit of truth in advertising. And I feel that the first trailer for this movie really did give you what you should expect to see, that this was going to be a not very good movie. It's the second trailer that tricked me, where they take all the scenes with Angelina Jolie being the villainous Maleficent and they cut them together to make it seem like this is going to be a very gritty adult version, or at least older teenager version, of the story of the character that we grew up with as children in terms of Sleeping Beauty. And with Angelina Jolie, and I have to say this, she is a fantastic actress who deserves all the awards and acclaim that she has ever gotten in her career as a creator of films. And she can play the villain extremely well. She can play the sympathetic victim really, really well. But when the character that she's playing is forced to jump between the villainous extreme and the sympathetic extreme, it's not a slight on her acting ability. Far from it. She really, really, really tries hard in this film. The problem is, when you jump from side to side, the audience, myself included, doesn't know how to feel about the character. It's too much. It's too much and too little at the same time. Too much in the idea that we're supposed to hate the character for doing the hideous things, but sympathize with the character for doing the good things. And while it's understandable what Maleficent does in this film, watching her bounce from dastardly evil to sympathetically good really does take away the power of the character. The effect of this movie is magnificent. They really, really use the 3D. And that's the one thing with Disney. They know how to animate a scene. They really use the depth of 3D in this wonderfully. And if you really do want to see this movie, and I can't recommend seeing it in good conscience, but if you really, really, really do want to see Angelina Jolie in this movie, because that really is the only reason you'd go to see this, wait till it comes out on DVD and then borrow it from your library. You get a free movie for a couple of days. You don't have to pay a rental fee or a return fee. You might have to pay a late fee depending on your library. And they get the business, so it's a win-win situation for everyone. You get the movie, they get the business, everybody wins. But other than the special effects, the story itself was extremely bland. The way that they worked in her backstory was fine, but it's essentially, the movie is essentially 10 minutes of Maleficent's backstory before she became the villainous queen that we all know her for in Sleeping Beauty. And then the story is just how she and Sleeping Beauty interact from then on, up till the very ending. And everything there, I have to say, there's some really, really sincere scenes in this moment. When Maleficent is angry, she's angry. When she is sorrowful, she's really, really sorrowful. But there are so many other scenes that you just don't buy. And especially with a lot of the action scenes, this movie vomits an action scene on you exactly 15 minutes in. And it feels it feels like it's something that's needed to keep your attention, but is not executed particularly well. They always feel like they're leading up to something great, but then they pull back. It's like they're holding back. I don't want to say that Disney doesn't know how to make dark, gritty movies, because they do. They really do know how to do that. It's just that for this movie, they chose not to go as far as they could. The violence in it is very PG at best. The even some, I wouldn't recommend taking kids to see this because this is in no way a kids movie. Children are going to get bored within the first 5 minutes of this. But even some of the implied scenes, like the implied, like there's some implied mutilation, and there's some there's some other things that are implied. Nothing horrible, like nothing creepy or rapey or anything like that. But there are just some other scenes that are implied that they just never go anywhere with. You don't. They don't bite the bullet. They don't take the risk of just letting it all hang out and going the extra step to make this into a really dark movie, which it could have been. And instead, they chose to essentially Disneyfy a Disney movie. Is really the only way to say it. And as a live action version of Sleeping Beauty, it falls very, very, very far short of the original animated version. And what can I say? That literally is all I can say without spoiling this movie. So, spoiler stick is up. If you don't want to see spoilers, just put your likes, favorites, or dislikes and comments down below. I'll be happy to read them, respond to them in the next video, etc. You guys know how this works. And, okay. So, there's a whole bunch of plots in this movie that go almost nowhere. For example, there's the movie opens with a story about how these two kingdoms, the kingdom of the Moors, where Angelina Maleficent is, and the kingdom of regular people. And the two of them are, well, they say the two of them are at war with each other, but really, it's the humans are at war with the magic folk, and the magic folk are essentially like, no, you don't get to fight us. And there's this thing with like the king and all this other stuff, and it almost, Maleficent defeats them in battle eventually. 15 minutes in, she defeats the king in battle. So the king essentially needs to be avenged because he's supposed to be this terrible, greedy king. But we really never see anything of him, so we never get to really feel any. We don't get to feel any sympathy towards him or malevolence to him. He's just there to push the plot forward, which is what a lot of the characters are. Sleeping Beauty, she's there to put, or Aurora, Princess Aurora, she's there as the MacGuffin, the thing that Angelina Jolie has to curse and then take care of. The fairy godmothers that are there to take care of Sleeping Beauty, they're watered down. Surprisingly, the prince from the original version, he's even more useless than he was. At least in the original version, he had to go with the help of the fairies and fight Maleficent. In this movie, he is just there to look pretty. He basically looks like like a kid out of One Direction, there to just smile and wink at the camera. Aurora, she's all giggly and happy and blah blah blah. There's really nothing to her character. The only two characters of any particular merit are Maleficent herself and King. Oh, isn't it? I can't remember his name. It begins with an S. But basically, when Maleficent was a kid and he was a kid, the two of them fell in love with each other. And then, in order to become king, he betrays Maleficent, and then basically, she curses his kid, as we all know the story, how the story goes. I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know how this story goes. And then he essentially goes crazy trying to defeat Maleficent because he believes that she is coming for him because he took her wings. That is the essence of the story, and in the end, Sleeping Beauty is made the princess of both kingdoms. She rules everyone. You really do sympathize for Maleficent in this movie, and it's not hard to see why. The problem is, the story is not that. It doesn't take that many chances. It plays it too safe. For example, there's this one part in this film where she basically raises a wall of thorns around the kingdom of the magic people to keep the humans out. Fine and fair, right? That's we As someone watching this movie who sympathizes with her and the magic folk, I completely understand that. And there's this thing where the humans are trying to burn it down and they can't burn it down. So the king, he's like, bring me all my iron forges, and you immediately think, well, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna try and build like a giant hedge clipper that is it gonna be like a big mechanical machine that gnaws through the hedge, and Maleficent can't do anything against it because apparently all the magic folk can't stand iron. It burns them. So you're thinking, well, is he going to do that? Like, what's going to... But basically what happens is he ends up filling his entire castle. And when I say his entire castle, I mean exactly one small corridor with a bunch of basically iron thorns in order to keep Maleficent out. And literally, she just walks past them. She walks past them. The action movies are fine. They're satisfactory. The story itself is poor. Angelina's character is wonderful, but she just doesn't have... She needs a better script to work with. And the animation is wonderful, but all in all, I cannot recommend this movie. 5 out of 12. It is not worth sitting through. I literally nearly got up to leave to see what else was playing in the theater. I was like, well, you know what? I could still sneak into X-Men or A Million Ways to Die. I could watch something else, but I said, no, I'll sit and see how this plays out. The ending is essentially Frozen. Like, we get the ending of Frozen halfway through, like, almost near the ending. So they really did need to take a lot more risk. There's a lot of eye candy in this movie. This truly is a throwaway movie. I don't know why this was released now during blockbuster season. This really should have been released in the first 3 months of the year with the other trash that we normally dump there. Ah, well. This has been my technical critique. I'm not happy. I'm not happy at all about this. I'm sorry, guys. I thought it was going to be good. It wasn't, and this is now only going up on the internet. But on the other hand, I was in New York for my cousin's graduation from West Point, so I've got a nice little non-content thing. I'll do a little blab before, and then I'll show you everywhere I went. And yeah, this has been my technical critique. As I said before, if you've made it this far, you're a trooper, as always, and I love you. So like, favorite, subscribe, dislike, whatever. Just make sure you leave a comment, and I will see you in the next review.